and his crew make a run for the Sunny, but their situation suddenly takes a turn for the worse. Big Mom, driven mad by her hunger pangs, closes in on the pirates with blinding speed. Wielding the power of 3 fearsome homies, she goes on a rampage that strikes fear into the heart of the entire kingdom.
On the next One Piece, the Spear of Elbath, Onslaught, the Flying Big Mom. I'm gonna be king of the pirates!
With Big Mom hot on their heels, the Straw Hats make a desperate dash toward the seducing woods. Facing a nearly hopeless situation, Nami hatches a clever scheme. Meanwhile, eyes glistening with tears, Pudding reveals her true feelings. Or is it simply another facade?
On the next One Piece, Pudding's determination. Ablaze, the seducing woods. I'm gonna be king of the pirates!
Luffy and his allies become lost once again in the seducing woods. As Big Mom and her crew catch up to them, they get pulled into a frantic confrontation. With no time to spare, Nami comes up with a stormy new strategy that's certain to shock her foes.
On the next One Piece, a lightning counterattack. Nami and Zeus the Thundercloud. I'm gonna be king of the pirates!
Big Mom is stopped in her tracks. However, the Straw Hats aren't in the clear quite yet. An unnerving voice echoes deep underground. Meanwhile, Pudding shows a strange new side. She and her sister Chiffon propose an outlandish plan that might just be wild enough to work.
On the next One Piece, a coincidental reunion. Sanji and the love-struck evil Pudding. I'm gonna be king of the pirates!
Two of Big Mom's most formidable children, Katakuri and Perospero, unleash an assault on the Sunny. Chopper and Brook find themselves in a sticky situation as the twisted Candyman encases their bodies in sweets. Will Luffy make it in time to save his friends?
On the next One Piece, Save the Sunny, fighting bravely, Chopper and Brook. I'm gonna be king of the pirates!
There once was a man who attained all the riches this world has to offer. His name was Gold Roger, king of the pirates. The last wishes of that man fall on one mink's shoulders who would risk everything for the dream of a new world. In order to clear the path for Luffy and his crew, Pedro rolls the dice on a risky gambit.
On the next One Piece, Before the Dawn, Pedro, the captain of the Guardians. I'm gonna be king of the pirates!
Thanks to Pedro's selfless act, the Sunny is now free. But his final sacrifice may not have been enough. With Big Mom and Katakuri relentlessly on their heels, the gang desperately tries to escape. Thinking on his feet, Luffy pulls a drastic maneuver in order to ensure that Pedro's legacy is not in vain.
On the next One Piece, I'll be back! Luffy, deadly departure! I'm gonna be king of the pirates!
With immeasurable power and speed, combined with observation Haki that allows him to see briefly into the future, it's no wonder Katakuri is one of Big Mom's most dangerous generals. To save his friends, Luffy faces off against his most dangerous challenge yet.
On the next One Piece, the man with a bounty of billion, the strongest sweet general Katakuri. I'm gonna be king of the pirates!
The ferocious duel with Katakuri explodes into action, but Luffy can't seem to connect with a single attack. Katakuri matches each of Luffy's techniques effortlessly, winning out in speed and strength alike. Desperate to get the advantage, Luffy prepares to throw a massive punch at his toughest adversary yet.
On the next One Piece, a hard battle starts. Luffy versus Katakuri. I'm gonna be king of the pirates!
While the Sunny is under attack by Brulee's forces, Big Mom catches up to them quickly. Commanding a wave of unimaginable size, the Emperor of the Sea robs Luffy's crew of all hope. Suddenly, Jinbei takes to the helm with one final gamble that may save the Sunny, if only for a moment.
On the next One Piece, the Green Room, an invincible helmsman Jinbei. I'm gonna be king of the pirates!
Katakuri pursues Luffy relentlessly with his deadly Willow Mochi attack. But Luffy's concerns lie with his friends, who need to come up with a new plan to reunite with their captain. Protecting a tiny piece of mirror with his life, Luffy reassures his crew with a smile in the midst of battle.
On the next One Piece, the threat of the mole, Luffy's silent fight. I'm gonna be king of the pirates!
Unable to mount an offense against the unshakable Katakuri, all that Luffy can do is try to buy time. But Katakuri quickly grows impatient and unleashes the awakened power of his Mochi Mochi fruit. Cornered and completely out of options, any hope for Luffy's victory seems to fade.
On the next One Piece, the end of the deadly battle, Katakuri's awakening in anger. I'm gonna be king of the pirates!
Katakuri's merienda is a sacred ritual that even his siblings have never seen. Hiding himself away in a forbidden shrine, he rests his mind and rejuvenates his body. As Luffy barely escapes death, he uncovers the strange truth behind this event, as well as Katakuri himself.
On the next One Piece, the forbidden secret, Katakuri's merienda. I'm gonna be king of the pirates!
Luffy uncovers the secret to Katakuri's seemingly impenetrable defense and launches an assault with fourth gear. Now, with the opponents on equal footing, the battle begins anew. However, even with Katakuri's limits exposed, he may prove more than a match for the battered Luffy.
On the next One Piece, Luffy fights back, the invincible Katakuri's weak point. I'm gonna be king of the pirates!
Sanji's life-or-death baking enters the next phase when he brings out his secret ingredient. The power of his ultimate whipped cream may be enough to satisfy Big Mom if only his crewmates can survive. But things aren't looking good for Luffy when his fourth gear runs out of steam.
On the next One Piece, another crisis. Fourth gear versus unstoppable donuts. I'm gonna be king of the pirates!
Waiting for his Haki to recharge, Luffy is attacked by Big Mom's family from all sides. Meanwhile, Sanji and company run into Oven before they can deliver the wedding cake. Now, protecting Chiffon from his wrath, Sanji is forced to step in and confront this man of heat.
On the next One Piece, the rebellious daughter Chiffon, Sanji's big plan for transporting the cake. I'm gonna be king of the pirates!
Luffy continues to wait for his Haki to recharge, but finds himself pursued by Katakuri yet again. Meanwhile, Chiffon is held hostage by Oven, while Beji is surrounded by enemy ships. With the fate of his family on the line, Beji makes a bold move in the face of certain defeat.
On the next One Piece, a man's way of life, Beji and Luffy's determination as captains. I'm gonna be king of the pirates!
Sanji, Beji, and the others team up to transport the cake, but Oven, overwhelmed with fury, turns the sea into a boiling hell, preventing their escape. When Beji's ship catches fire and the cake is in danger of being ruined, an unexpected hero emerges to face Oven.
On the next One Piece, the cake sank, Sanji and Beji's getaway battle. I'm gonna be king of the pirates!
Surrounded by a grand fleet led by Daifuku and Smoothie, the Sunny is forced into an impossible battle. However, as a full moon shines on the troubled waters, Carrot makes a strange and beautiful transformation. Fighting with the same spirit as her fallen friend Pedro, she leaps into combat.
On the next One Piece, Sulong, Carrot's big mystic transformation. I'm gonna be king of the pirates!
Using her mighty Sulong form, Carrot dismantles Daifuku's fleet one ship at a time. Brook joins the battle as well, and the Sunny prepares to break through the enemy line. Then suddenly Big Mom undergoes a frightful transformation and haunts the battlefield once more.
On the next One Piece, Breakthrough, the Straw Hats' mighty sea battle. I'm gonna be king of the pirates!
After failing to escape from Big Mom, the Straw Hats face her wrath as she runs wild on the Sunny. When she sets the ship aflame, Jinbei strikes back with his Fishman Karate. As a desperate battle unfolds, the Straw Hats will have to use every weapon at their disposal just to survive.
On the next One Piece, finally they clash! The Emperor of the Sea versus the Straw Hats! I'm gonna be king of the